It started with a phone call I almost ignored. I was in the campus dining hall, sipping on burnt coffee and scrolling through my econ notes when my phone buzzed. Mom. Calling. Hey, everything okay? I answered, balancing the phone between my shoulder and ear. Her voice was tight. Natalie, did you use your debit card to order food recently? My heart skipped. No, why? There are 6 different charges from a food delivery app, over $300 total, all from this month. I froze. That doesn't make sense. You haven't been ordering out? No, I use my dining pass. I haven't touched that card in weeks. Mom sighed, clearly stressed. Okay, I'll pause the card. You need to check your account right now. As she hung up, my fingers fumbled to open the banking app. And there they were. 6 transactions over the last 2 weeks. Burgers, sushi, fried chicken, even 2 late-night pizza orders. All from a delivery service I hadn't touched. My throat tightened. Someone had been using my card, and I already knew who the only other person with access was. Brandon. My boyfriend of almost a year. Tall, confident, with that easy charm that turned heads. He had a key to my dorm, knew my passwords, and had borrowed my card once just to grab snacks. I never thought twice. Now I couldn't stop thinking about it. I left the dining hall and walked straight across campus to his apartment. My stomach flipped with every step. When I knocked, Brandon opened the door with a grin. Hey babe, didn't know you were stopping by. I didn't return the smile. Brandon, have you used my debit card? His face changed instantly. Gone was the casual charm, his brows furrowed, eyes narrowing. What, are you accusing me of something? There are charges for food, over $300. He scoffed. Wow, so now I'm a thief? I'm not saying that, I just need to know. You think I'd steal from you? That's cute. Maybe your card got hacked. Happens all the time. His tone was sharp, defensive, too defensive. I canceled the card, I said softly, but I'm going to call the app and ask for the receipts. His jaw tightened. You don't trust me? I hesitated. I just need answers. I can't believe this, he muttered, stepping back. Whatever. Do what you want. I left with more questions than answers. Part of me wanted to believe him. But the look in his eyes, that wasn't a man shocked by false accusations. That was a man who got caught. That night, I contacted the food delivery services support team. It took 3 hours and multiple emails, but finally they sent over the digital receipts. And there it was, his name, Brandon Moore, sloppily redacted on one receipt, but still visible, clear as day. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. The last order was placed 2 hours before I confronted him. He had eaten food I paid for, and then lied to my face. The next morning, I didn't hesitate. I walked straight to his apartment again and knocked hard. When he opened the door, I held up my phone. I have the receipts. He blinked. Receipts for what? The food orders. The ones you made using my card. Your name's on them. There was a beat of silence. Then his smile twisted into something darker. You've really been spying on me, huh? I swallowed. You stole from me, Brandon, and you lied. His jaw clenched. It was just food, Nat. You weren't even using the card. That doesn't make it okay. You're making a big deal out of nothing, he hissed. Don't act like you're some saint. I took a deep breath. We're done. His eyes widened. Excuse me? You heard me. We're over. He laughed, but there was no humor. Just something cold. You think you're too good for me now? You think you can walk away like this? I didn't flinch. Watch me. I turned and walked off, pulse racing, but steps steady. I expected him to yell, maybe slam the door. He didn't. He just stood there, and that scared me more than anything. That night, I locked my dorm room door for the first time in months. I tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face. The flash of anger, the clenched jaw, the way his voice dropped when he said I was making a big deal. I wanted to believe it was over, but something told me it wasn't. The next morning, my phone buzzed before I even opened my eyes. Brandon, 1:12 a.m. Hope you're happy. You made this a whole thing. Crazy how fast you switched up. Thought I knew you. No one's gonna believe you. You have nothing. Bran, you better keep your mouth shut. You'll regret this. My hands shook as I read the final message. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. By the next day, the rumors had already begun. I felt it the moment I stepped out of my dorm. Whispers, stares, the sudden shift in energy that told me something was off. A girl I didn't even know blinked at me like I had three heads. Two guys from my economics class stopped talking the moment I passed them. I tried to shake it off, but the real punch came when I walked into the dining hall and spotted Ava, one of Brandon's close friends. We'd gone on double dates together, laughed over movie nights, even shared playlists. Now she looked through me like I was a ghost. "Ava?" I asked, stopping near her table. She crossed her arms. "Seriously, Natalie? What? You told people Brandon stole from you?" I froze. "He did." She rolled her eyes. "You're unbelievable. I have proof, receipts, digital records, his name on the transactions." But she was already standing up, brushing past me like I was the villain in her story. My chest tightened. Brandon was flipping the script. That night, I got the confirmation. My roommate, Kayla, walked into our dorm, holding her phone like it had just burned her. "You need to see this," she said. I took it from her and felt my stomach drop. Brandon had posted a story on his private Instagram, a screenshot of fake texts, made to look like I was begging to get back together, apologizing for being crazy, and admitting I lied to make him look bad. The caption? "When your ex turns psycho and tries to ruin your life." I stared at the screen, mouth dry. The messages were clearly fake. Bad grammar, weird formatting, even phrases I'd never use. But to people who barely knew me, it looked real enough. Kayla looked concerned. "People are talking. Like a lot." "About what?" "He's saying you tried to ruin his reputation after he dumped you. That you're making up the fraud stuff to get back at him." "He didn't dump me. I broke up with him." "I know," she said gently. "But they don't." I turned away, suddenly dizzy. Brandon wasn't just retaliating, he was erasing the truth. The next morning, I walked to class and felt like a spotlight was following me. A group of students at the quad went silent as I passed. Two girls I'd worked with on a group project refused to make eye contact. I made it to my seat in Intro to Marketing and pulled out my notebook, pretending I didn't feel like the walls were closing in. Then my phone buzzed. Mark, Brandon's former roommate. "Heads up, Brandon's going around saying you stole from him. Said you made up the card stuff, he's on a mission." I stared at the screen, blood draining from my face. "Me? He stole from me. Mark, I believe you. But he's pissed, says you embarrassed him. I'd be careful." I locked my phone with shaking hands. Careful? Of what? I was the one being lied about, gaslighted, and now threatened. This wasn't some messy breakup anymore. It was character assassination. And I was losing. That night, the dining hall was louder than usual. Laughter, music playing off someone's speaker, forks scraping trays. I tried to focus on eating, but I could feel them watching. Kayla slid into the seat across from me and didn't even pretend to sugarcoat it. "He's telling people you hacked into his Venmo." I stared at her. "What?" "That you transferred money from his account to yours, and now you're flipping the story to make him look bad." I laughed, but it was hollow. "That doesn't even make sense. Venmo shows both sides of every transaction." "I know," but again, people believe what's easier to swallow. "What do you mean?" "I mean, Brandon's charismatic. He's got friends all over campus. She paused. You keep to yourself." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. She was right. I wasn't popular. I wasn't loud. I wasn't the kind of girl who threw parties or posted selfies every weekend. People didn't know me well enough to stand up for me, which made it easier for Brandon to rewrite the narrative. And people were eating it up. Later that night, I was brushing my teeth when I heard a ping from my laptop. I rinsed, wiped my mouth, and walked over to check. It was a message request on Facebook. From Brandon's mom. "Natalie, I don't know what kind of games you're playing, but Brandon is devastated. He told me everything. You need to stop spreading lies about him. If you continue this harassment, we'll be forced to take legal action." I stared at the message, a cold pit forming in my stomach. He had looped his mother into this. He had painted himself as the victim so convincingly that his own family believed it. I took a screenshot, saved it to my receipts folder, and closed the laptop. I wasn't going to cry. Not again. Instead, I opened a blank document and started writing down everything. Dates of the food orders, screenshots of receipts, screenshots of Brandon's story, every text message, the threats, the fake messages, the Facebook DM from his mom. I was building my case, because Brandon had declared war. And this time, I wouldn't just defend myself. I was going to hit back. Hard. I thought the worst was behind me. I thought being humiliated online and painted as a liar was rock bottom. But I was wrong. Because the moment Brandon realized his lies weren't silencing me, he changed tactics. He turned dangerous. It started with the knocks, soft at first, harmless even. The first one came at 2:13 a.m. I sat bolt upright in bed, heart hammering in my chest. I held my breath. Maybe it was just someone drunk, a wrong room. Then again, 3 slow knocks, this time louder. I crept to the door and peered through the peephole. Brandon. He stood there, hoodie pulled up, face partly in shadow, hands in his pockets. Just standing. Not saying a word. I backed away, my pulse roaring in my ears. I texted my roommate Kayla, but she was staying with her boyfriend that night. I texted campus security instead. They didn't take long to show up. When the officer knocked and identified himself, Brandon vanished. Quick footsteps down the hall and then silence. I opened the door, barely able to speak. "He's not supposed to be here," I whispered. The officer nodded. "We'll document this. If he comes back, don't hesitate to call again." The next morning, I submitted a formal report to the resident life office. Brandon was officially banned from my dorm building. I thought that would scare him off. But predators don't back down when they're cornered. They get meaner. And Brandon? He was just getting started. That night, I got a text from my bank. "Unusual login attempt on your checking account." "Was this you?" I opened the banking app so fast, I nearly dropped my phone. My savings account, which had over $3,000 and now had $11.42. At first, I thought it was a glitch. Then I saw the transactions. Multiple withdrawals. All through a digital payment service I rarely used. Transfers to an account I didn't recognize. Except I did. Brandon had once borrowed my phone to order food. He must have saved his info. Or worse, set up his account to link with mine. I stared at the balance, my skin prickling with rage. He didn't just take my dignity. He took my money. He took everything. I didn't cry. Not this time. I grabbed my laptop and started collecting evidence. Again, I pulled the bank records, screenshots of the transfers, timestamps, everything. Then I called the bank's fraud department. "Hi," I said as calmly as I could. "I need to report a theft." The representative asked me to verify my identity, then walked me through the process of filing a fraud claim. They couldn't tell me who the money was sent to, but they could flag the account and begin an investigation. I already knew whose name would be on it, but I needed more. So I called the digital payment service directly. I explained the situation, layered in as much legal language as I could. They hesitated at first, but eventually, I got what I needed. A confirmation. Brandon Moore was the account recipient. Sloppy, arrogant, predictable. I had him. And this time, I wasn't just going to defend myself. I was going to destroy every lie he'd ever told. First, I walked into campus security with everything I had. The fraudulent transactions, the screenshots, the prior harassment report. They took it seriously, especially when I told them he had come to my door late at night. "Has he threatened you directly?" one officer asked. I nodded. "Not in person, but I've got texts." I showed him Brandon's late-night messages. "You're going to regret this. You think you can ruin my life and walk away? You won't get away with this." The officer's face hardened. "We'll escalate this. You can file a no-contact order through the university. If he reaches out again, we involve law enforcement." I filed the paperwork the same day. Brandon was now legally banned from contacting me in any form. One wrong move and he wouldn't just face academic discipline. He'd face criminal charges. But I wasn't done. Because Brandon had one thing left to lose. His reputation. He was part of a prestigious leadership fellowship, something only 1% of students got into. It required top grades, clean conduct, and good standing. So I submitted a misconduct report to the dean's office. I included every shred of evidence, the bank records, the payment confirmations, the harassment reports, screenshots of his fake social media posts, his midnight visit to my dorm. They didn't respond immediately, but I didn't need a reply to know the storm was coming. Brandon had built a house of lies. And now, the foundation was collapsing. The next day, I was on my way to class when I heard yelling near the administration building. I didn't do anything. This is insane. I turned the corner and saw him, Brandon, red-faced, gesturing wildly as a staff member tried to calm him. "You can't put me on probation based on one complaint." The staffer remained composed. "This isn't just one complaint, Mr. Moore. We've received multiple reports and verified financial misconduct. The consequences are non-negotiable. I stopped walking, my heart pounding. Brandon spotted me. His eyes narrowed. You, he barked, stepping toward me. You did this. You lied. You ruined my... Mr. Moore, the staffer interrupted. Stepping between us, you're currently under review. I strongly advise you to walk away. Brandon didn't move for a moment. Then he did. He turned, storming off like a hurricane in a hoodie. I stood there for a few seconds, letting the moment sink in. This wasn't revenge. This was justice. And justice was only just getting started. Brandon thought I would stop once he was placed on academic probation. He was wrong. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about accountability, about showing people that actions have consequences, especially when you mess with the wrong girl. And I had receipts. A lot of them. 3 days after his public meltdown outside the admin building, I sent an email. Not just any email. A detailed, fully documented, professionally written report addressed to the one place I knew it would hurt him the most: his scholarship committee. Brandon was funded through the Midwest Scholars Initiative, a competitive program that paid tuition for students in financial need with outstanding character and leadership potential. He had to keep a spotless record to stay in the program, and I was about to make sure that spotless image shattered. I attached everything. Screenshots of the fraudulent transactions, the complaint filed with campus security, screenshots of his fake social media posts, the incident report from the night he showed up at my dorm, his threatening messages. I ended the email with one simple sentence. I believe you have a right to know who's representing your name and using your money. Then I hit send. The fallout was quick. 2 days later, Kayla burst into our dorm room holding her phone. You have to see this, she said breathlessly. She flipped the screen around. It was a screenshot from the campus forum, a student-run gossip board, half ridiculous, half terrifyingly accurate. Breaking. Brandon Moore no longer listed on the Midwest Scholars roster. Rumor has it he lost funding and may be getting kicked out of the program altogether. I blinked. Already? Kayla grinned. You nuked his entire identity, and he doesn't even know it's you. That didn't last long. Because that night, around 11:40 p.m., I got a call from a blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. Then the text came. Unknown. You think this is funny? You think you can ruin my life and just walk away? You'll regret this. No name. No photo. But I knew exactly who it was. Brandon was spiraling. And when men like him lose power, they look for someone to blame. The next morning, I filed a restraining order request at the city courthouse. The campus no-contact order was fine. But this was legal. Official. Enforceable. By the end of the day, Brandon was served. He couldn't contact me, approach me, or even mention me online without violating the order. His world was shrinking. And mine was finally starting to feel safe again. But I wasn't done yet. Because for all his toxic bravado, there was still one pillar Brandon had left standing. His family. The ones who paid his rent, his books, his groceries. The ones who commented, "So proud of you, sweetheart," on all his posts. They had no idea what he'd been doing, so I told them. The email wasn't angry, it was professional. Subject line, fraud and harassment, your son Brandon Moore. I kept it factual. The dates of the money he stole, the screenshots showing he used my card, the digital receipts, the threatening messages, the visit to my dorm in the middle of the night, the school reports, and the scholarship removal. I didn't beg. I didn't accuse. I simply said, you deserve to know what your son has done and what he's still capable of. Then I clicked send and waited. It took 48 hours. Then I got a text from Mark, his old roommate. Mark, his parents pulled everything. Tuition, apartment, everything. He's crashing with a cousin across town now. Says he's going to start over, but he's furious. Be careful. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen. So that was it. He had finally lost it all, and still, he blamed me. Not himself. Not his choices, not the lies, the theft, or the threats, but me. That night, I went to the coffee shop off campus to clear my head. I sat by the window, sipping a latte and catching up on homework. It was almost peaceful, until I opened the forum again. A new post had gone up, titled Brandon's Last Words, Long Rant. Poster anonymous, Burner 99. I knew it was him before I even clicked. It was a 700-word rant. Chaotic, disjointed, full of blame. She ruined my life. She's a manipulative liar. She faked everything. No one gets to take me down and walk away. And then the line that made my stomach twist. I know where she lives. I stared at the screen, ice creeping up my spine. I didn't finish the post. I took a screenshot and left the cafe immediately. I went straight to the police station. When I showed the officer the message, his face hardened. "This is a direct violation of your restraining order," he said, "and a serious threat." He filed it under criminal harassment. A case was opened. Brandon was flagged for further investigation. If he contacted me again, even once, he would be arrested. By the end of the week, Brandon's student email was disabled. His name removed from the student directory. The forum post deleted. Rumors spread he had been expelled. He vanished from campus like a ghost. The kind people whisper about, but no longer fear. I should have felt triumphant. And part of me did. But another part felt relieved. Not because I beat him, but because I survived him. For the first time in months, I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I was looking forward. And that finally felt like winning. I thought expulsion would be the end of it. That after the scholarship was pulled, the program dropped him, and his name was scrubbed from every school system, Brandon would finally disappear. But some people don't go quietly. And Brandon Moore was never the kind of person to accept consequences. 3 nights after the forum post was deleted, I was studying in my room when my phone rang. Unknown caller. I let it go to voicemail. Then came the ping. Unknown number. "You think you're untouchable now, don't you?" I didn't reply. I blocked the number. Again. But then another came, and another. Different numbers, all blocked after the first message, each one nastier than the last. "Everyone knows you're lying. You won't always be protected. Sleep tight, Natalie." The final one read, "You can't run from me forever." I froze, because this wasn't just anger anymore. This was fixation, obsession. I packed a bag that night and slept in Kayla's boyfriend's apartment across town. I didn't want to be alone. The next morning, I went straight back to the police. The officer at the front desk recognized me instantly. "Miss Carter," he said, concerned. "You've been receiving more threats?" I handed over my phone with shaking hands. "Yes, from different numbers. All anonymous, all within 48 hours. He nodded grimly. "This is textbook escalation. You've already filed a protective order. It's time to consider further action." "What kind of action?" He looked me straight in the eye. "A criminal restraining order, and potentially pressing charges." I swallowed hard. Was I ready for that? Was I ready to walk into a courtroom and look Brandon in the eye? Later that day, Mark texted me. "Mark, he's unraveling. I heard from someone at his cousin's place. He's blaming you for everything. Says you destroyed his future." I stared at the message. Brandon was rewriting the story again. Only this time, he believed it. That night, I slept with pepper spray under my pillow and a chair wedged under the doorknob. I didn't sleep much. 2 days later, it happened. It was a quiet afternoon. I had just finished a midterm and decided to treat myself to a coffee before heading back. I walked into the small cafe near campus, placed my order, and turned to find a seat. And there he was, Brandon, sitting at the back, hoodie pulled low, staring straight at me. My blood turned to ice. I turned around and walked straight back out the door. Fast, not running, but close. I could hear him. "Natalie." I didn't turn around. He followed. I picked up my pace, heading toward the crowded intersection at the end of the block. "Natalie, stop." I didn't stop. Then he grabbed my arm, hard. I yanked it free with a shout. "Don't touch me." People turned. A few students nearby started filming on their phones. Brandon stepped back, face flushed, jaw tight. "You ruined my life." "You did that all by yourself," I said, breathless. Then I turned and walked away. Again. This time I went straight to the police with everything. The new encounter, the location, the time, the witness statements from bystanders. And they'd had enough. Brandon Moore was arrested that night. Violation of a restraining order. Criminal harassment. Assault. He spent the night in jail, and I slept for the first time in weeks. The next morning, my phone blew up. Friends, acquaintances, people I barely knew from group projects and campus events. "Is it true? Did they really arrest him? Are you okay?" I didn't reply to most of them, because suddenly the narrative had changed again, this time in my favor. People stopped whispering. They started listening. One of the campus forums posted a long thread titled, "Why We Owe Natalie Carter an Apology." It included screenshots, links to old posts, and a timeline of what Brandon had done. The comments? Overwhelmingly supportive. I believed him. I was wrong. "Natalie, you're stronger than most people I know. Thank you for speaking out, for fighting back." And then a message that hit me harder than I expected. "Ava, Brandon's ex-friend. I was cruel to you. I'm sorry. I didn't see the truth. I do now." I didn't cry, but I let the relief wash over me like rain after a drought. Finally, I was heard. A week later, I stood in front of the Student Conduct Review Board. Not as a victim, not as a girl accused of overreacting, but as a witness. Brandon's hearing was held behind closed doors, but I was called in to testify. I walked in with my evidence, my story, my head held high. I didn't shake, I didn't flinch. And when they asked me if I had anything to add before closing, I said, "I don't want him to hurt anyone else, ever again." That was it. Simple. True. After the hearing, I sat on the library steps, letting the sun warm my face. The noise of campus life moved around me. Laughing, footsteps, music from someone's Bluetooth speaker. And I realized something. Brandon had tried to take everything from me. My money, my reputation, my safety, my voice. But I still had all of it, because I never gave him permission to keep it. And now, I wasn't just surviving. I was reclaiming everything, one step at a time. 6 months passed. Just like that, the chaos faded into memory, like a storm that had torn through my life, leaving debris I had to clean up piece by piece. But I survived it. And more than that, I came out stronger. Brandon was gone. After the arrest, the student conduct hearing, and the criminal charges, he was expelled from the university permanently. His name was wiped from every club roster, every housing list, every honors board. I never saw him again. I sometimes wondered where he ended up. If he moved to another city, tried to start over, or still sat around blaming me for a future he'd ruined with his own hands. But I didn't spend long on those thoughts, because I had better things to focus on. My final semester flew by. I was still rebuilding my savings account, my social circles, my sense of peace. But something had shifted in me. I no longer walked with my head down. I no longer wondered if people were talking behind my back. I no longer looked over my shoulder. I was done living in fear. One warm spring morning, I sat on the campus quad with Kayla and a few friends. We were passing around iced coffees and laughing about graduation photos when a familiar face approached. Ava. The girl who once believed every lie Brandon told. She paused in front of me, fidgeting with her sleeve. "Hey, got a second?" I nodded. She sat beside me, avoiding eye contact. "I just wanted to say, thank you." "For what?" "For holding him accountable. For not staying quiet." I stayed silent, letting her find the words. I was friends with him for years, and I never saw it. Or maybe I did and didn't want to admit it. I looked at her, softening. He fooled a lot of people. "I still feel guilty," she whispered. "You should," I said, but gently. She nodded. "I'm sorry." And somehow, I believed her. Graduation day arrived in a whirlwind of caps, gowns, and teary-eyed parents. I stood in line with my class, sunlight warming my skin, holding the program that listed my name under Honors Graduate Communications Major. A year ago, I thought Brandon would be standing right beside me in his own gown, shaking hands with the dean, smiling for pictures. Instead, he was a ghost in the crowd's absence. And I was exactly where I was meant to be. When they called my name and I stepped on that stage, the applause roared. Not because everyone knew my story, but because I knew it. And I was proud of every chapter. Even the hard ones. Especially the hard ones. The week after graduation, I moved into a small apartment in the city and started my first full-time job at a digital marketing agency. It was fast-paced, exciting, and filled with possibility. I decorated the space with intention. Bright colors, plants I probably couldn't keep alive, a bookshelf stacked with both thrillers and healing guides. I even bought a new lock. Stronger, safer. Not because I was afraid, but because I had learned that protecting myself wasn't weakness. It was wisdom. One quiet Sunday morning, I sat on my balcony with a cup of coffee, watching the city wake up. Kayla texted me a screenshot. "You remember Brandon's cousin? Word is he tried applying to another university." I raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess, they found his record." "Yup, denied. His name's flagged in the academic misconduct database." I didn't feel a thing. No satisfaction. No revenge-fueled joy. just neutrality. He was no longer part of my story. He was a footnote. And I had pages left to write. A few weeks later, I was asked to speak at a campus safety panel for incoming freshmen. They wanted a recent graduate to talk about digital security and protecting personal information. I almost said no. Then I remembered who I used to be. The girl who trusted too easily, who gave second chances to people who didn't deserve first ones, who let love excuse red flags. I owed it to her, so I said yes. That evening, I stood on a small stage in front of a packed auditorium. Bright-eyed students with open notebooks, parents who still hovered nearby. I shared a little bit of my story. I didn't name names. I didn't need to. I told them that anyone, even someone charming, even someone close, can cross the line. And if they do, it's not your fault. You are allowed to speak up. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to walk away, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. When I finished, the applause was quiet but warm. A few students came up to say thank you. One girl asked for a hug. I gave it to her, because I understood. Months passed, seasons changed, life moved on, and so did I. There were still moments when it crept back. The chill when I walked past a stranger who looked like him. The flash of anxiety when I got an anonymous message. But those moments passed faster now, because fear no longer lived in me. Strength did. One night, Kayla and I sat on my couch, scrolling through job postings and drinking cheap wine. You ever think about what you'd say to him, she asked, if you ran into him again? I smiled faintly. No, I said, because I have nothing left to say. I meant it. There were no more arguments, no more text messages, no more fights to win, because I already had. Not because I destroyed him, but because I refused to let him destroy me. That was the real victory. And I didn't need permission to claim it.